What's up everyone, Seth Miranda here. This is Adorama Rewind and it is an insane week. Absolutely packed with gear news, announcements, and just weird social stories that have to do with this industry. Let's kick it off with something completely bananas. A woman who's been putting out Facebook ads as a newborn photographer tried to steal someone's infant. Yeah, so this woman who put out Facebook ads that said she was trying to build her portfolio as an infant newborn photographer, went to this victim's house on 3 separate occasions, and on the 3rd occasion apparently gave her a cupcake that was drugged. The victim felt like she was feeling some symptoms of being drugged, so she called the authorities, and they pieced together a bunch of clues, and the detectives found out that this woman was just trying to find an infant under 5 weeks old to snatch up, skip state, and raise it as her own. Whoa. So why am I talking about this on Adorama Rewind? Well, it's kind of crazy because we see a lot of people who pretend to be photographers for other motives, and a lot of times it's with like creeper guys and all sorts of stuff, but here there's some deeper motive here to steal someone's infant. This is kind of crazy, and this goes along with all the other times that we talked about someone pretending that they were a photographer. They usually charge people for like wedding photography, and they can't produce like quality images as a professional, and this goes along with do your due diligence. Well, don't just hire someone for a Facebook ad. Anybody can buy Facebook ads. Anybody can just put something out there. We're in the age of self-publishing and DIY. So if you think that someone is out there that you've never met that wants to come into your home, maybe you should check out some references and research a little bit, right? Let me know down below what you guys do to background check on people. Let me know if you've heard of any other instances where someone's posed as a photographer just to get access to a place. That's happened plenty of times. All right, let's move on because that was like a sketchy one. I just wanted to kick off with that one because it was just absolutely bananas to me. Let's talk about some gear news. Sigma, yeah, they announced a while ago that they were going to try to put out a full frame Foveon sensor camera, and they actually just said they're indefinitely delaying it, which isn't kind of true actually. They basically said they're going to start over from scratch because they felt they weren't confident what they were bringing to the market that would actually benefit anything, which is pretty commendable. But what is a Foveon sensor? So let me pull this up for you guys. This is basically how it works. So film era, we had these layers of blue, green, red, and we captured on the entire frame the blue, the green, and the red. When we switched over to digital, mainly with CCD sensors, we took the pixels and we chopped them up into just parts got red, just parts got green, just parts got blue. And what they're trying to do is make a full frame that the entire sensor plane captures blue, green, and red, which is supposed to be lush, rich color, just like we had in the film days. Not that we don't have great color now, but they're claiming that there's more of a ability to capture legit color, correct color, and just richer, deeper color depth with the Foveon sensor. People were actually waiting for this. I'd like to see what happens with it. I have to commend Sigma to not putting out something they're not confident on, as opposed to just putting something out there and going like, we tried, no, whatever, and then people complain about it and the forums light up and people just like yell at each other. So good on you, Sigma, and Sigma's done a lot to evolve that company from where it was to where it is now. We have a lot of great glass. The art series is one thing to definitely commend them on. Let's talk about something just kind of goofy. In my opinion, it's goofy. Canada Goose. Yeah, they put out a photojournalistic jacket. What they said, created in partnership with a photojournalist, which I'd love to know who the photojournalist is, at $850 for this jacket. It's saying it has reinforced pockets. The red is if you want high visibility. You could get it in black or navy. Hey, it must be selling because they only have medium left at the time of this recording. They're saying that this was put together with the photojournalist in mind so that you can have enough place to store gear or whatever you need in your pockets, be able to work in it. I mean, I myself wear a lot of workwear, heavy canvas pants and stuff like that because I'm constantly, you know, working on set and you beat the hell out of your clothes. This, I don't know what this is for. I think what I want to talk about this is being that we're in an era where photography is kind of like a fashion statement a little bit. You know, you see these people that actually shoot, then you see the people that wear a fedora hat and pretend that they shoot. Is this going to be that kind of jacket? Is it going to go on people's backs that are trying to pretend like they're working, or was a working photographer really going to want this? Years ago, you saw people wearing those vests with a zillion pockets. That kind of faded away. That's the guys that I kind of learned from, and then like I think my generation kind of like got rid of that. Now we're seeing some really great technology in camera bags and stuff like that to carry the gear. We're seeing the gear shrink down. Things that used to be like 6 pieces being 1 unit, things like that. Do we care about this? That's what I want to know. Write me down in the comments below. Is $850 crazy for a jacket that might last you a long time and actually be functional and not look ridiculous, like you actually want to wear it? Let me know down below if I'm crazy about this idea, thinking that photography has like this fashion element to it. I'm really curious to hear what you guys say about that. What's really great is if you go to the Twitter post that people are writing, like David Hobby, if you buy this $850 jacket, you won't look like a photojournalist, but your wallet will feel more like a photojournalistic wallet. Basically what he's saying is photojournalists don't make a lot of money, and they don't. They really do it for the passion of it. They chase the shot, and I give a lot of credit to photojournalists out there, especially being here at Adorama. I get to talk with a lot of them, hear the stories. It's amazing. So let me know down below if you're a photojournalist. Does this jacket appeal to you? Does it appeal to anyone? Let me know. I want to bring up this one, which is pretty cool. Someone made real working cameras out of 35mm canisters. Yeah, it's pretty cool because really a camera is just a box, right? That controls how much light enters it. So as long as it's light tight, you can build a camera inside anywhere. You can see this is probably cinefoil or some kind of blackout material. And then these are the bellows that allow for the travel of the elements. Pretty cool. And then, you know, the lens housing and stuff like that. But let's take a look at the shots. They're very dreamlike, you know, very pinhole-ish kind of looking, large format-ish. Definitely has its own feel to it. Pretty interesting. I just get a kick out of that kind of stuff. I love when people get this excited to build cameras and in creative ways. And I don't know, just check out the link down below. You might want to get a kick out of it as well. Let's swing the pendulum the other way because Sony is putting out a software development kit for the third-party developers to create tools to remotely control their cameras. Right now it's the A7R4 and the A9 II. This is a big deal. So this allows for a remote camera, which in photojournalistic settings, event photographers, concert photographers, things like that, you usually put cameras outside of where you're standing, maybe over the stage, maybe in the stadium somewhere so that you can capture something else and you're controlling it remotely. That was dominated by Nikon and Canon forever. This could leave the door open for Sony to soar into that world as well. There are some stuff out there, but to have third-party developers be able to give you options is the cool thing. Maybe someone's interface doesn't work with the way your headspace works, or maybe you're looking for certain features. Now you'll have options and different interfaces and workflow to remotely control Sony cameras. That's pretty cool. Plus, it also gives third-party developers a chance to put a product out there of an app that they could sell, and it's always good to have more options out there. A bigger market's always better. Let's talk about Nikon for a second. As you all know, Nikon slid out the door their D6, which is the predecessor to the D5. Not such huge changes on it. No, we still have a 20.8 megapixel sensor, 14 frames per second mechanical shutter, which is a little boost from the 12 frames on the D5. It has dual CF Express slots, which is nice. There are XQD slots on the D5. I'm wondering personally if we could have done a firmware update to the D5 to make those slots into CF Express, but I don't know if they're going to do that. I heard mutterings that they said they were. I don't know. It does have 4K 30 frames per second video. I don't think they focused at all on video on this one, but what they did focus on was the autofocus, having densely packed cross types in the middle of the viewfinder. You know, I think Nikon, so people are saying a lot about this camera. Let's be honest here. But in my opinion, I think Nikon sees that this market of like this $6,000 price point camera for sports shooters is getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And maybe they're diverting resources to mirrorless, which a lot of people are saying. But I think that they're just looking at it like, well, what are we going to put in this camera that will actually fit that market that isn't actually that big? Maybe we should divert resources to a market that'll sell to a larger, wider audience. We're in a really weird place right now. We're seeing the DSLR mirrorless switchover. We're seeing companies trying to get an idea of what people want. Mainly, we're seeing a lot of video features being shoved into still cameras, which we have been seeing more and more over the years, but now we're seeing actual demand for it where people really need it. Because if you talk to any pro photographer, they'll tell you that you have to start getting into video, and video people have to start offering stills. So we're in this weird hybrid world, and we have to start wondering where those price points and the markets lie. I'm going to get more into that later because Canon has some news as well, and I think you guys all know about that because it's been everywhere. But let's still stay in the Nikon world because they also launched some Z lenses for the mirrorless system. So 20mm f1.8 and a 24-200 f4 6.3, which is going to be like the monster kit lens. The 20mm is a weird niche lens. They already have like a 24mm out there, 1.8. So this is really for like landscape people. They want to get super particular and specialized with their lenses, of course, to astrophotography. But the kit lens, or I'm calling it kit lens, maybe it isn't, 24-200, long, huge range with a variable aperture, and it's stabilized vibration reduction. Who is this for? Well, it's an under $900 lens that can give you a wide range. So if you're someone that's just starting out and you're not even sure what kind of lenses or focal lengths you like to work with, it's a great place to go with this. Not to mention it's budget friendly. If you just bought like a Z6 and you wanted like a long range, you have like an $1,800 camera with a $900 lens, and then you start figuring out your kit and evolve yourself from there. A lot of people are saying maybe this is for the Z50 because it is a unified mount. The Z mount is both full frame and crop sensor. So at 24 to 200, you do lose some on the wide angle, but you do get more of a zoom out of it. And maybe that gives it like a wide range for someone starting out with a crop sensor camera like the Z50, but it is basically the same price as that camera, so you have to wonder if the price point keeps you away from it. It's nice to see that Nikon's putting out an array of lenses for the mirrorless that are accessible and not crazy expensive. Canon went the other way, right? They put out their amazing, beautiful glass right off the bat for the R mount, and now I think they're starting to put out the more affordable, easily accessible glass out there for people getting into their mirrorless system. Olympus, the EM1 Mark III has been announced, and our own Gavin Hoey took a crack at it. It is a 20 megapixel. We're talking about some really amazing stabilization, which Olympus has been great for. They have a new autofocus for starry sky. So for all your astrophotographers, you got that going on. It has 4K video, not to mention 18 frames per second, a maximum of 60 frames per second, which is insane. They did some pretty cool stuff to this camera. If you're an Olympus fan, you'll probably be into this. If you want to see what this is about, you can check out Gavin's video right here where he really puts it to the test and gives you some sample images in the video and goes through the tracking and as well as the vlogging capabilities of it with the flip out screen, lets you hear the mic that's on board and stuff like that. So if you're an Olympus fan, check that out. Let's keep going with the photo mystery. Yeah, so some guy bought a 60-year-old camera and developed the medium format film in it and found some family photos, and they're actually asking people if they would know this family, where it was shot, how it's, if they can piece together and find these photos to the home they belong in. It was purchased in France at a flea market, so they're guessing that's where the family photos are from. I used to live next to a flea market here in New York, so every week I'd go to the same vendors who would always hide these vintage cameras for me to check out first because they knew I was going to buy them anyway. And they'd always find film in them. Not once did the film process anything, and that's usually because the cameras are stored somewhere with a lot of humidity, heat, or something got to them, or sometimes the film just expired to a point where it just had no ability to be processed anymore. This is pretty amazing to have photos show up that were never processed from 60 years ago. So check out the link, look at the photos. Maybe someone out there has some more clues. I don't know. Maybe you are the family. I don't know. It's kind of crazy. All right, let's get into the Canon news because there's a bunch on that as well. The Canon EOS Rebel has got a new member of the family, the T8i. So this has been getting a lot of talk, mainly because it can do vertical video. They built this thing for the vlogger. 24 megapixels, totally articulating screen so you can watch yourself while you're recording yourself. 4K, 24 frames. And of course it's a Rebel, so it's gonna be pretty accessible at $750. And it's got 45 points autofocus. The vertical video, I know what you're saying. You're like, why? What are they doing? They're just placating to a market that actually needs it. A lot of people will take their camera and just do this and record the video that way, but that actually requires some sort of getting the video from the camera into post-processing to work with the video so it can be exported as a vertical means. Here, they're going from the camera right to social, which is basically what all these people need. Canon's seeing the gaps and they're slowly filling them in. I think it's pretty exciting what Canon's doing out there, and I think it's pretty interesting that they're fighting the phone, the whole debate of the iPhones and smartphones taking over. They're saying, hey, we'll do a better job than your phone and we'll work with your phone. And here's how they're doing it. It's Bluetooth and Wi-Fi enabled. Just get that stuff from your camera right to social and that's it, it's over. And Canon also launched some lenses for their RF line, or lens I should say. Just like I said before, they had their beautiful, super expensive, but amazing glass. Well, now you have a 24 to 105 f4 to 7.1 stabilized lens for the R mount. That's a great range, 24 to 105, especially if you're not sure what type of focal length you like working in. So 24 to 105 is pretty good for getting a scene and also getting some pretty good portrait going on there with that focal length of 105. You know, having the variable f4 to 7.1 is where they save money on the build of it. You're looking at a $400 lens, which is pretty great. So if you're getting into the R system and you want to get a native lens and not break the bank and still have a good enough range, the 24 to 105 will be available for you. If you do want to step up a little bit more, for $1,100, they do have the 25 to 105 f4, which is a little bit more of a premium, but you are getting a constant f4 aperture as opposed to this variable aperture changing as you zoom. So be aware of that if you're not aware of that kind of stuff. Canon announced a while ago that they were closing their cloud platform, but now they're starting a new one. It's called Image.Canon, and this one's pretty interesting. So it's not just the storage, which was the previous platform, which is what Arista was. It was more of just like cloud storage, but this is actually allowing for what they're calling a hub for users, which will allow their PCs, smartphones, and external web services to access the images, and it'll be like there waiting for you, which is basically what a cloud is. And they're going to have it built into a lot of their cameras coming up, starting with the R5, which I know you all have heard about. Everybody jumped on YouTube to be like, let me read a spec sheet to you, instead of like actually having some real knowledge about it. Let's talk about that. I'm basically gonna do the same thing, right? So the R5 seems to be Canon taking the gloves off here, right? The mirrorless powerhouse with 8K video and finally stabilization, the first Canon mirrorless to have image stabilization in it. A lot of crazy things happening here. We're looking at 20 frames per second electronically, 12 frames per second mechanically, and of course the 8K video. We don't really know that much more about it. We know it'll have 2 card slots. We know it'll be stabilized. We're not 100% sure what the resolution of the sensor is. We're not sure if the 8K video is full frame. We don't really know that much. We're just giving these subtle little kickouts from Canon, giving us an insight to it. People are speculating what's going on out there, and I'm not a big believer in speculating. Rumors can be poison to this industry very, very easily. What I will say is that this camera is super interesting because maybe we're seeing a new era here as far as price points in this market. Stay with me on this one. So in my opinion, I think we've seen 3 price points in this industry when it comes to full frame. We've seen the $2,000 price point, which is your A7 III, your Z6s, your Canon Rs, and then we saw the $3,500 price points, which were, you know, your D850s, you know, your A7R IIIs, now maybe even the Z7, the 5D Mark IV. All those cameras were like that price point, and now we're looking at the $6,500 price point kind of going away, which was like the 1DX Mark II, the D5, and you know, I think Sony never really hit the 6,000 mark with that. With the A9, I think it was about 5,000, 5,500 when it debuted. And so what are these price points for? Well, the $2,000 price point was someone getting into it that just want to take better photos than they were doing before. They have some knowledge. They don't really want to go super amateur. They want to get into full frame, and they also need video capability. That's what that $2,000 price point was for. Then you have the $3,500 price point, which was for the more serious users, someone who needed like higher res, needed that really clean commercial work, the portraiture, that kind of workflow, that dependability and the image quality always there, not questioning it. And then the $6,500 price point was for like the hardcore workhorse photojournalist. Don't worry about anything, beat the hell out of the camera, get the job done fast, work with speed, things like that. And I think what we're seeing is we're going to see a shift. So instead of having this $6,500 price point that we had, we might see a $5,000 price point, which Sony has already tapped on with the A9 series. We might see this camera land in that era, in my opinion. This is, again, people are speculating. Well, now's my turn to speculate. I think that this isn't going to be that $3,500 camera. I think this is the introduction of the cameras being around that price point when you want this heavy of a feature set, a spec sheet that can last you for so many years. Because you have to realize that once you buy the base, the brand that you're sticking with, the camera body, right? It's very difficult for anyone to switch whole systems when they've invested in for years. You are going to buy a camera body and you're going to stick with it for a while because the features can only get so crazy from here. 8K video, what do you need? 16K? We don't have TVs right now that are affordable for people to watch 8K video. But this is a demand that's future-proofing. A lot of productions want you to film in higher res than what is now so that later on they can do remasters and all sorts of things like that. This is so that you get started and then you buy the glass. You buy the lighting systems, you know, the battery grips, all the extra stuff that goes to these systems. You need to understand they want you to invest for the long term. And, you know, we're all going to benefit from these camera systems throwing down harder and harder on the table. You know, you think Sony and Nikon aren't going, we see this. Let's get started on what we're going to put out there. And of course, R&D for whatever they're putting out next has been in the works for years. I'm super excited. I think this year is going to be nuts for what we get to play with as photographers and videographers. Hands down, some of the best gear that we've seen to date is, I think, right now. We're seeing a huge shift. We're seeing people that are very knowledgeable in the audience now. You know, years ago when you did the film to digital switchover, a lot of people didn't even grasp what megapixels meant. Now everybody understands what's going on out there. They've been creating with these tools, and now going forward, they know what they want, and now it's up to the brands to give people the tools in their hands that they are trusting this brand to give them, right? Let me know down below what you think. I know the R5, we're looking at probably like a July release. That's what they're saying right now, but who knows when that's really going to happen. Right now, it's just fun to talk about, but it is very cool to see Canon taking the gloves off and getting back in the game a little bit. Pretty awesome. I'm psyched on it. All right, let's talk about that longevity though. So you know about data rot. You know, you have these hard drives you buy and years go by, and after a while they just might not work. DVDs and CDs, they've been rotting on the shelf forever. They might not be readable anymore. Well, they're saying that 10,000 years is the shelf life for glass. What am I talking about? Yeah, Microsoft says that they can store your data on sheets of glass. This is kind of nuts. They're saying that it is durable against boiling in hot water, baked in an oven, microwaved, floods, scoured, demagnetized, and other environmental threats. This is kind of crazy. 10,000 years. Are we seeing the final form of digital media here, right? Project Silica by Microsoft. Go check out the link down below if you're curious about that. I'm wondering how much that's going to cost, and I'm also wondering what it's going to take to shift over from the media we have now to something like that, if it's feasible, if it's plausible. It's super interesting though, so check that out. Shutterstock. We've talked about Shutterstock here plenty of times. CEO is stepping down after 16 years. It's nothing crazy. He will exist on the board. He's just saying that the company is insanely huge and he's not the guy to take it to the next level or evolve it. So he wanted to put the proper person in place for that, which was their COO. But I thought that was worth mentioning. It's also commendable when people realize that it's not about them, it's about the company, and maybe they're not the person that's the best for the company to take it to a next height. We'll keep an eye on that, see where Shutterstock goes. In some really cool news, Panasonic created a viewfinder for a colorblind photographer. Yeah, so they actually corrected the viewfinder to work with the way he is colorblind, which is actually red blindness. It's pretty awesome. There's a few links to this down below. Check it out. I have to give it to Panasonic. That's just cool that they did that. Video games have been doing this for a while though. If you notice in modern video games, if you go to the options menu, it says what version of color, what form of color blindness you may have. And it adjusts the screen and swaps out colors for other colors so that you can actually play the game as intended with the color set that they want you to see. Pretty cool. If you're someone with color blindness, write me down below. I'm wondering how it's been for you in the photo industry. I actually shared a studio with a guy 13, 14 years ago that was colorblind, and all he shot was black and white, and it was beautiful. Nick, how are you, buddy? I hope you're doing well out there. This Instagram account is revealing how far influencers go for the perfect shot. I've actually been following this for a couple months now. Everyone here at Adorama follows it, from the creator Tank Sinatra. Influencers in the wild, shows people doing just dumb, weird things. When you start seeing the BTS of what it takes to get these images, that look at this, look at these people, what these people do to put the content out there, it's kind of hilarious. In one hand, I think it's amazing to see the creative spirit being so alive, and that's amazing. But on the other hand, you know these people are just doing it to give the idea that their life is beautiful and amazing and they're doing such cool stuff. And now they're not really living their life. They're actually placating their life to an audience that they want to deceive a little bit into thinking that they have these awesome lives. I don't know. It's hilarious. Go check out this Instagram. It's so funny. I spend like so much time scrolling through and watching like little video clips of people just doing really weird stuff, and human behavior is just hilarious to me. So check that down below. I did want to clue you guys into something that happened this weekend on AdoramaXP on Twitch. We gave away a laptop live on AdoramaXP. So we hit a bunch of follower points that we wanted to hit, and I said I was gonna give away an MSI laptop. There it is right there. You can see the chats flying off the handle. It's great. And congratulations to the winner of the laptop there. And shout out of the week is gonna go to a guy who I've seen a lot out there on the scene. He's hustling hard. I always see him out there. He's at all the cons. We ran into a New York Comic Con, me and Daniel. We put him on Daniel Norton's YouTube channel. You can check out that. I always see him trying to help out the community, going live, causing discussions, and always trying to evolve his craft, trying to get better and better. So this one goes out to Grayson Shine Photo. Congratulations, dude. I hope you get some followers from this. Always look at how much work he's putting in there. You got to appreciate the hustle out there. And if you're a cosplayer, you might want to definitely check this out. I know there's a huge community for that, both in front of and behind the lens. So check out Grayson Shine Photo. And I will continue to do these weekly shout outs, I promise. I'm not 100% sure if I'm gonna have Rewind up for you next week. I'm gonna try very, very hard, but I can't guarantee it because I'm gonna be leaving for Vegas for WPPI. I will be speaking there. On Monday, I have portraits on the go at 3 p.m. So I'll be showing you guys how to shoot portraits on the fly right there at WPPI, lighting and using environmental lights, ambient lights. And then I'm gonna do creative exposures as a platform demo where I show you guys how to do ghosting and streaks and all sort of shutter draggy type stuff. A lot of in-camera effects right there live for you. If you're going to be at WPPI, come check out my workshops, and I will be doing portfolio reviews as well on Tuesday in the middle of the day. So if you're booking a slot for a portfolio review and you want to have me take a look at your book, I'd be more than honored to do so. All right, guys, that's going to do it for me. I would give you a question of the week, but I think I've asked a zillion questions in the length of this insanely long rewind. Thanks for sticking it out with me. And we really appreciate you guys as an audience. We are so close to 1 million followers right here on Adorama TV. So if you haven't yet, hit subscribe. Don't forget to hit the bell so you get notified of when new videos come out. We're dropping videos almost every day from a huge roster of hosts and a lot of topics from video, audio, and everything in between. All right, I am just rambling here. Thank you guys so much. You can follow me at LastXWitness on all social media. You can join me on Twitch, twitch.tv/LastXWitness. If you're a photo nerd, I'm trying to build a community there. You're more than welcome. And I'll see you guys hopefully next week, if not the week after, I promise. Later.